Welcome to the psychology of the hidden Upwork economy. Let's do a 30-second recap of what we've covered so far in the course. We've talked about the key concept of deliberately designing your freelancing business in order to attract high-quality clients, and how that starts with choosing the right niche and differentiating yourself from your competitors through the art of strategic positioning. We've also discussed the importance of turning clients into repeat customers in order to build a profitable, healthy, and sustainable online freelancing business. And we've highlighted the hidden Upwork economy as the most effective and efficient way to find new clients. In fact, it can literally help you bring in new leads while you sleep. To show you just how powerful the hidden Upwork economy is, I want you to imagine waking up on a Monday morning. You check your Upwork dashboard and see that you've been invited to apply to a job by a prospective client who's a total stranger. You've never heard from them before in your life, yet their message sounds almost like they know you. It goes like this. Hi, I really like your profile and would like to hire you for this job and also upcoming jobs in the future. You quickly notice that you're the only freelancer who's been invited to this job. The client literally wants to hire you without even talking to any of your competitors. Not a bad way to start your day. You respond to the invitation with a quick message, and by the end of the day, you've signed this person as a new client at your full rate. By the way, this quote-unquote example is a real-life invite I received from an actual client who I did end up closing, quite quickly, at a price that was higher than I'd ever charged before for this type of work. And I've gotten many more just like this. In fact, the hidden economy has been my main source of new clients for years, adding tens of thousands of dollars to my earnings in any given 12-month period. This is extremely important because if you ask most freelancers what the number one challenge of freelancing is, it's going to be pretty unanimous that the biggest hurdle is finding clients, or at least finding clients that are willing to pay well. And yet, if you play your cards right on Upwork, you can take advantage of their enormous client base and get a ton of people looking at your profile and really falling in love with you before you even ever say a single word to them. Here are some more examples. Hello, I hope you are having a great day. After reading your profile, I was very impressed and excited. I am not sure how busy you are with the holidays, but I was wondering if you'd be interested in a book project. Then there was this one. We are in need of copywriting for a website sales video for a fitness app. I'm reaching out to you as your profile seems like you have the experience to assist us with this. Would like to hear from you if this is something you can help us with. And this one. I would like to work with you to improve our website. This job may require you to pick our brains a bit, but it is time you will be paid for. Let me know if this is something you would like to help out with. And here's one that one of my students received just 90 days into her online freelancing career. Hello, we are looking for a graphic designer to work with on an ongoing basis. We liked the look of your profile and the quality of work you have done, and wondered if you'd be interested in working with us. The list goes on and on. High-quality client after high-quality client reaching out to me and others, month after month, year after year. But remember, like every other aspect of a winning online freelancing business, this does not happen by accident. It's the result of careful planning and execution. As we discussed in the previous module, high-quality clients aren't just looking for any Joe or Jane freelancer. They want someone who is dedicated to solving their specific problems. And our niche and unique positioning represent the framework of a freelancing business that caters to this type of need. Now, in this module, our job is to take that framework and turn it into a concrete profile that does the heavy lifting of attracting clients to us 24/7, 365, so we can spend more time doing billable work or just enjoying ourselves, and less time finding clients. A good way to think of this is that where the previous module focused on what a high-quality client wants to hear, this module will be all about how they need to hear it in order to move them to take the action we want them to take, which of course is inviting you to apply to their job. Okay, now I want to take a moment to talk about the mindset of a high-quality hidden economy client, like the ones who sent the invites I showed you just a couple of minutes ago. Because there are some subtle differences between this person and one who just posts a job on the public marketplace. The first thing to realize here is that hidden economy clients aren't primarily concerned with price. Not only do I know this from my own experience and the collective experiences of my students, it also just makes sense. If a client were just looking for someone with a low hourly rate, they would just post a public job and allow as many people as possible to bid on it. Then they would choose one of the cheapest freelancers out of the bunch. The very fact that they're seeking out specific freelancers to invite to their job suggests that cost isn't the most important factor in their hiring decision. Searching for freelancers also takes much more time and effort than posting a public job. So it's usually going to be a higher end client that does this. Think of it like buying wine. Someone who just wants a quote-unquote red wine will pull any bottle off an end cap at their local liquor store. Whereas a more serious customer who wants to find a wine she's really going to love will happily rifle through every shelf until she finds just the right bottle. A low price tag just isn't likely to sway her decision. The upshot of all this is that we can't just expect to slap up a profile that tells this client what we sell and then wait for her to click the contact button. We're going to have to get inside the client's head in order to win them over. One of our main tools for doing this is going to be the overview section of our profile. This is basically our first sales pitch to clients who are searching or browsing for freelancers via the hidden economy. So we need to nail this message. And this all starts by making sure that our overview appeals to clients on an emotional level. This is the exact opposite of what most Upworkers do. They use their profile to try to logically convince clients that they are well suited for the job. This is a critical mistake because even though clients may appear to be making purely rational hiring decisions that are calculated and logical, in reality, nothing could be further from the truth. This isn't even psychology. It's actually biology, which I'll tell you more about in just a minute. But first, let me show you what this mistake looks like in action. Specifically, even the more experienced Upworker's profile overview generally sounds something like this. I have blank number of years of industry experience. I have a degree in blank. Some of my clients include X, Y, and Z companies. I'm ranked in the top 1% of all Upworkers. I've scored in the top 5% in 10 different Upwork tests. My articles have been published in multiple magazines. I've won several awards. And my areas of specialty include A, B, and C. Let's go over the details of what makes this list of facts approach backfire so badly. It's an idea that I first read about in a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And as I mentioned earlier, it's actually a concept that's rooted deeply in human biology. What happens is that the part of the brain that's responsible for making hiring decisions, what's known as the limbic brain, this is not the same part of the brain that understands logic. That would be the neocortex. So, writing an Upwork overview full of information that tries to appeal to clients solely based on logic is a losing approach. Instead, we have to get clients excited about the idea of working with us. We need to make them feel something. That's the language of the limbic brain. Otherwise, it'd be like trying to sell an Apple computer by talking about how much RAM it has. That's not what gets Apple customers excited to make a purchase. And this is not how Apple does their marketing. Yet, 99.9% of freelancers market themselves this way. And to the limbic brain, it all just sounds like blah, blah, blah. Let's look back at the archetypal Upwork overview I showed you a minute ago. Now, try to imagine reading through that as though you're looking to hire a freelancer to write your autobiography or design your new website. Are you inspired? Does any of this get you excited or make you want to find out more? Does it make you want to pay top dollar? Chances are you're shaking your head right now. That's because no one is inspired by a list of facts. If you want further proof of this, just go to any successful Upworker's profile and read their client testimonials. I virtually guarantee you that none of them mention anything about the freelancer's education, work history, awards, or anything like that. So the big takeaway here is that we want to write our overview to appeal to clients on an emotional level first, with logic playing second fiddle. Remember, we make decisions with our limbic brain, and that sucker does not understand logic. Once you know this and follow the rest of the guidelines we're going to talk about, you'll be way ahead of even the most veteran freelancers who should know better but don't. Now, one of the key ways we can inspire clients and get them to feel like we're the right fit for them is through empathy. The dictionary definition of empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. And as any therapist can tell you, the number one prerequisite for gaining a client's confidence is by showing them that you understand them. Let me tell you a quick story that illustrates this concept perfectly. A few years ago, my wife had back pain, so we went to a chiropractor. Now, we're pretty skeptical people, and we're not an easy sell. So as far as we were concerned, this was just a consultation. There are hundreds of chiropractors in our town, and we were fully prepared to do the extra work of finding the right one rather than just going with the first person we met. But then something amazing happened. After looking at my wife for about 5 seconds, this chiropractor described her symptoms to her with perfect accuracy. He said, "You're having sharp shooting pain in the left side of your rib cage, right?" And he was dead on. How do you think that made us feel? We just looked at each other in awe, knowing we were in the right place. Do you think we were going to leave there and try and find a chiropractor with a more prestigious education? Do you think we fretted because his price was a bit higher than his competitors? Of course not. We were sold. And yet you can imagine how different this consultation could have turned out if he'd decided to start off by talking to us about his chiropractic degree instead. We would have been bored stiff. We might have left, and his perceived value would have been diminished. Even his treatment may have been less effective. This isn't to say that your credentials and anything else that helps you establish your credibility isn't important. It can be. But remember that you usually don't want to lead with it, and it certainly isn't the only thing you should talk about. Instead, using your overview to prove to clients that you understand their specific situation by describing their problems and goals is one of the most effective ways that you can inspire them to hire you. Let's talk about how to do this. One of the keys to making empathy work for you is to talk about the client's situation in a way that's very specific to them. For example, imagine you're looking for a personal trainer, but you're new to working out and you're afraid of doing it wrong, looking foolish, and even hurting yourself. So you check out the websites of 3 trainers. The first 2 go on and on about how to build muscle and how to recover after workouts. That may be fine if they're speaking to a more advanced client. But the 3rd trainer takes an approach that's more empathetic toward you, the beginner. Her website says, "Hey, I know working out for the first time can be scary. I'll show you some tricks I've learned for easing into a new workout routine safely while looking like a pro." Obviously, you'd be more interested in this trainer over the others. Again, notice that this isn't a logical issue, because the other trainers had good information too. In fact, from a technical standpoint, they may have had even better information. But the beginner's trainer showed you that she understood you. And conveying understanding is something people feel on an emotional level rather than a logical one. That is why we describe it as feeling understood. It's also important to use the actual words and phrases that your particular clients use when they're looking for freelancers. As we've shown, different clients can describe the same things in totally different ways. As another example, a brick and mortar business might ask me to write copy for their email marketing campaign, while an affiliate marketer would more likely ask me to write an autoresponder series, even though they're exactly the same thing. There are literally countless examples of these differences. So once you have your niche and positioning picked out, it's important that you figure out how the clients that you are targeting tend to think. To do this, you have several options. One way is to simply learn about this through dealing with clients. Over time, you'll develop a feel for the sort of language that they use. But in the meantime, you can also shortcut this process and glean this information from other sources too, like clients' job descriptions. For example, you'll notice that clients looking for logos often use the word simple. And there are many other insights you can find this way. You can also get lots of info from talking with potential clients or reading the reviews that clients have left for other freelancers. So with a little imagination, there are lots of ways to figure this stuff out. Okay, let's talk about a related key component of a persuasive overview, and that is the benefits of your services. This is yet another area that most freelancers ignore. They usually fail to explain any of the benefits a client can expect to get from working with them. Let's take writers, for example. They often talk about their work itself as though it were a benefit, but it's not. They say things like, "I'll help you get your message out," or "I create newsletters that shine," or "I deliver words that resonate," or any similar type of phrase that describes the writing itself. But that's not the thing that interests clients the most. The reason for that is that everything we do for clients is a means to an end for them, not the end itself. The economist Theodore Levitt once said, "People don't really want to buy a drill. They just want a hole." Following that train of thought, our clients don't want an autobiography. They want recognition and credibility. They don't want blog posts. They want people to find them in search engines. This works in any industry. In fact, my accountant is a freelancer, and I'm not really interested in what he does. Mainly, I'm concerned with saving money on taxes, staying out of trouble with the IRS, and not having to figure it all out on my own. Those are some of the benefits I get from working with an accountant. Remember, it's a given that your customers need whatever services you're offering. But if you really want to get inside their head, you need to go deeper and talk about what they really want. So instead of a newsletter that shines, how about a newsletter that people will want to share with their friends or colleagues, exposing the client's business to new markets? Instead of helping people get their message out, how about helping them enhance their reputation and credibility? And instead of delivering words that resonate, how about writing web copy that instantly sets clients apart from their competitors? Do you see how much better these services sound after I frame them in terms that the client can fully appreciate? Again, this works for any industry. Remember to go beneath the surface and talk about the real benefits of doing business with you. Okay, next, let's talk about the way your overview is written. Most freelancers write their overview in a me-centered way. It's all about them. Remember the archetypal overview I showed you earlier in this lesson? Did you notice how many times the word I or my appeared? It was practically non-stop, like the client is a long-lost sibling who just can't wait to hear what we've been up to for these past 15 years. Writing your overview in this me-centered direction makes you, the freelancer, into the hero of the story. But that's not what you actually want. You want to make the client the center of attention. She needs to be the hero because she is the hero of her own story. And she's reading this from her perspective, not ours. Every single one of us is tuned into the radio station WIIFM. What's in it for me? And clients are no different. So while your overview should talk about you, you shouldn't be the main focus of it. And you need to couch your own experience and expertise in how the client's life will be better off because of it. You also want to make it personal, like you're writing an email to a friend. Use the word you as much as possible without overdoing it. A big side benefit of this is that people love to read the word you because it's the closest thing to their name, which is everyone's favorite word. If you follow these guidelines, the result will be an overview that interests clients way more than one that is just focused on me, myself, and I. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the readability of your overview. Keep in mind that hidden economy clients are doing a lot of reading and skimming. So the last thing they want to see are big chunks of text. Looking at lots of words clustered together is a cognitive drain for busy clients, and it causes eye fatigue. So clients will instinctively be less likely to fully consume your overview if they see tons of words bundled together. Instead, you should keep your sentences as short as possible. It's also wise to make the first paragraph of your overview just one single sentence. That'll make the page more inviting to look at. Another useful tactic is to use bullet points if you're going to list anything out. For example, the features and benefits of your services. And finally, make sure to keep your paragraphs broken down to a maximum of 1 to 2 sentences each. Next, let's talk about how to keep clients in what I call a yes mindset. Here's what I mean by this. When you describe a client's problems or goals in your overview, you need to make sure that each statement or question is something that they can mentally nod their head yes to. The more mental yeses you get, the more they'll feel like you're a good fit for them. And even one mental no can blow the entire deal. For example, many copywriters on Upwork talk about helping their clients increase sales of their quote-unquote product. But when a client who's selling a service reads that information, they may register a mental no. And that alone might cause them to keep moving. This also works when describing the magnitude of the client's problem. For instance, if you're a web designer who works with business owners who are unhappy with their web design, you probably wouldn't want to lead your overview by asking the client if they hate their website, because you'll get a mental no from clients who dislike their website but don't hate it. The same is true for the benefits you convey and every other aspect of your overview. So read every sentence carefully and make sure you're keeping clients in a yes mindset. This also makes it more likely that they'll say yes to hiring you. Alright, let's talk about how to end your overview. And that is by telling clients exactly what to do next. You want them to contact you, right? Well, you need to tell them to do that. And you need to tell them how. Don't assume they'll know the next steps, or that they'll know that there's a green contact button in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Instead, tell them about it and instruct them to click it. There's a classic research study that found that when people are given brochures for tetanus vaccines, many more people get vaccinated when the brochures contain explicit instructions on exactly where to go to get the shot, versus just telling them to go get one. So if you tell people to get in touch with you, and you tell them how, they are more likely to do it. This is yet another one of the many key tactics that freelancers miss when they craft their overview. Even freelancers who say that they are quote-unquote experts on persuasion. I get a pretty good laugh every time I see one of these persuasion masters leave out the important detail of giving clients instructions on what to do next. Okay, now let's talk about another important aspect of your overview: keywords. So here, as you can see, I've done a freelancer search using my own name as the keyword phrase. Now, obviously, this is not a keyword that you would use, but do you see how my name is highlighted each time it appears? This is not an effect that I've added. This is actually Upwork's search engine highlighting the word I searched for in the results it's showing me. So there's a correlation between the actual words clients are searching for and the freelancers they're being shown by Upwork as a result of those searches. If we can get the right keywords into our profiles in the way that clients are entering them into that search box, then we'll have a better chance of getting found and hired by those clients. Now, I'll show you how to do that in just a moment here. But first, I want to make it clear that this is just a helpful tactic. You're almost certainly not going to get found by clients just because you have the right keywords in your profile. But at the same time, it obviously does help, and not having the right keywords can potentially affect where and how often you do show up when clients search. So you definitely want to pay attention to keywords. When it comes to figuring out which keywords clients are searching for, I recommend taking advantage of Upwork's Search Suggestions feature, which you can see in action here in this screenshot. This tool will automatically suggest a bunch of keywords the moment you type in a single word or even just a few letters. The reason I like this so much as a research tool is that these are the actual suggestions clients are going to be receiving from Upwork when they search. This makes it very likely that they'll default to the searches being suggested. So nailing those keywords can give you an automatic leg up on the competition. Just a few best practices when it comes to using keywords in your overview. First of all, don't try to put a zillion different keywords or keyword phrases in. It's better to keep it focused to a smaller number of searches. Remember, we aren't trying to be all things to all people. Nor do I want you to repeat any given keyword too many times to the point where it sounds unnatural. In the search engine optimization industry, we call this keyword stuffing, and it makes you sound like a weirdo. So just pick the keywords that make the most sense for your niche, and then make sure they appear in your profile as often as possible while still sounding totally natural. Finally, for the quickest access to Upwork's Search Suggestions feature, use the URL you see on the screen, which you'll also find in the Overview Psychology worksheet that's included with this lesson. Now, I want to quickly tackle a common question about the hidden Upwork economy. And that is, do you need to be the quote-unquote best freelancer in order to get invited to jobs by excellent clients? Don't you need to have the most experience, the best references, and the most expansive portfolio? Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. I don't have any of those things. Not only that, but I'm also one of the more expensive copywriters you'll find out there. Do you think any of my $135 an hour clients have ever asked me how I measure up against copywriting legends like Bob Bly or Dan Kennedy? If you hired a golf coach for $135 an hour, would you ask them how they would fare in a match against Tiger Woods? Do you think my wife does careful research to find out who the quote-unquote best hairstylist in our town is before she gets her haircut? Of course not. Nor is this how clients think when they're hiring you. They're just looking for someone who understands what they are trying to accomplish and can help them do it better than they can do it on their own. With that said, it can take some time and effort in order to get to the point where clients are just contacting you out of the blue. In addition to your overview and the rest of the areas we'll cover in this module, there are other factors that will affect your ability to attract high-quality job invites, like your Upwork history, having excellent reviews from previous clients, and work samples. And you'll build all of these up by following the approaches throughout this course. In the meantime, rest assured that you can still make good money from public jobs. Like this job I recently won right off the public jobs marketplace. Some freelancers, like Ella Young, who's a student of this course, have been able to tap into the hidden economy within just a few months, and others have even done it within just a few weeks. But it can take longer, depending on where you're at in your freelancing career, how long you've been on Upwork, how many hours you devote each week, and more. Luckily, there's no rush. The techniques you're learning in this lesson will help you get public jobs as well, while you work toward tapping into the hidden economy. Okay, let's do a 60-second summary of the key lessons we've just covered. First, attracting high-quality job invites doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of having a well-designed freelancing business, as well as a profile that catches the eye of high-quality clients. One of the ways we do this is by crafting an overview that appeals to clients on an emotional level, rather than relying strictly on logic. The main components of this type of pitch are showing the client we understand their specific problems and goals, highlighting the benefits of our services, and making our overview revolve around the client instead of being all about me, myself, and I. Next, using short sentences, short paragraphs, and bullet points make it more likely that our overview will get read, since they remove some of the cognitive burden from the client. We also want to make sure every single sentence of our overview elicits a mental yes from the clients we're targeting, since even a single mental no can potentially blow the deal. And we want to end our overview with a very specific call to action that lets clients know how to contact us, since that increases our chances of being invited to high-quality jobs. You can use Upwork's search suggestions feature to get a good idea of what keywords clients are likely using to search for freelancers like you. Then you can use those keywords strategically in your profile to help you get found. And remember, you don't need the most experience or the best credentials in order to attract high-quality job invites. You just need to be able to show clients that you understand their specific problems and that you're capable of solving them. All right, let's do some action steps for this lesson. First, I want you to fill out the overview psychology worksheet. Remember that even if you don't have a ton of experience yet, you can still glean plenty of insights about clients by talking with them or by looking for patterns in their job descriptions and the reviews they leave for other freelancers. Next, you'll use your overview psychology worksheet answers in order to write a draft of your Upwork overview. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I want you to think of it as a work in progress. In fact, it'll be much easier to improve it later through editing than it will be to write it in the first place. Lastly, once you've written the first draft of your overview, use the overview checklist to make sure it's bulletproof and contains the winning elements we've discussed in this lesson. Then you can submit it to Upwork for review. A bit later in this module, I'll show you an example of a very effective profile that was approved by Upwork the first time it was submitted, so stay tuned for that. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.